Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Kicking It with the KTrain, where I chat with people who have helped me keep an eye on my vision. Man, oh man, oh man. We have had some awesome time, some awesome fun. Just catching up with so many people. And this next guest, few of you, those of you that have read my book, you'll probably recognize this guy's name. Peter Green and I go back 15 years now, something like that.
Yep.
A lot of the stuff I know about the mountains, from on the technical side, and just a lot of stuff that I still practice today in outdoors, in my outdoor pursuits and all that. I learned, single-handedly from Pete here. So Pete, welcome to the
Oh,
show,
thanks,
bro.
Kyle. So glad to get to talk to you today.
Yeah, man, absolutely, absolutely. So like we're look, I don't like to waste time, so we're just gonna jump right on in. You have been, an outdoors man for, basically, from what I know, your entire life. So can you just kind of go back to the beginning and kind of tell us just a little bit about, your story? Where'd you grow up? How'd you find your way into getting into the outdoors, and kind of that little progression there?
Yeah, for sure. So really, when I talk about this, people ask like how my whole winding weaving path through the outdoors and now firefighting
Hmm.
stuff started.
Hmm.
Uh, it started when I was a Boy Scout.
Hmm.
Uh, so I was like 12 years old, and I just was so active and busy with, I wanted to run, I wanted to play sports, and so I got involved in Boy Scouting. And a couple of my scout leaders through the 12, 13, 14 years old were really into rock climbing.
Hmm.
So I got my early introduction through these guys, and that early mentorship and that early exposure to going out backpacking and just doing things in the outdoors. And then that pretty much was like that kickstart. My family wasn't really into it. My father wasn't into the outdoors, and just
Hmm.
through that avenue is where I really got started. And then by the time I was in college, I was, very much into backpacking, climbing,
Yep.
snowboarding, just being outdoors.
Yep.
Uh, yeah.
That's
So
awesome, man. Yeah. So, post college, in college, I can't remember where did you go to, where'd you go to college again?
both to University of Oregon and to the Lane Community College.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that's right. So like, you started pursuing, snowboarding and, mountaineering and all that, and you had this, if I remember correctly, you had like this healthy obsession with the Pacific Crest Trail. Um, at least, that was how, if I remember correctly, that was our initial introduction. Because I think you grew up in Oregon, and like it's, the PCT is not, not too far, and you're just centered right there in the Cascade volcanoes. So kind of where did uh where did the fascination with the PCT and trying to, climb all the Cascade volcanoes, come into, when did those kind of become goals of yours, or visions, or obsessions, for lack of a better
Yeah.
term?
So really, starting by my mid 20s, I was rock climbing more.
Hmm.
And then my wife and I, we started dating, we got married,
Hmm.
and really she didn't wasn't as crazy about rock climbing, but loved going backpacking. So
Yeah.
we together got really into just going on backpack trips, which led me then to some of my solo backpack trips and
Hmm.
that pursuit. Uh, and during all of those backpack trips, you're going through the Cascades, you're walking by the big volcanoes, and you can't help but think, well, there it is. We might as well make another trip and come back and climb this one and climb this one.
Sure.
And eventually the list was, well, really, it wanted to be all of the Cascade volcanoes from Lassen in California up through
Hmm.
Baker and Glacier Peak in Washington.
Yep.
That was always kind of the obsession was I could see him out my window. You could see him out the door, and then you'd go on these backpack trips, and that would just lead you to think, well, I did this one, let's go to the next one. So
Yep. That's awesome.
but I feel really lucky that in my case, where I spent a lot of time just backpacking and just kind of perfecting the craft of living outdoors comfortably, of being able to travel in the woods easily, and then adding mountaineering, where I've had a lot of people I've worked with and gone on trips with, where there wasn't that base of skill that they'd built through just the love of that simple pursuit. And so they're out climbing or mountaineering without some of that just basic skill, which then really what it does, I don't judge them. It just makes it less comfortable and less fun for them potentially.
Sure.
So I always feel lucky that I had this kind of like long path through each of my pursuits until each one was kind of built on the last.
Yeah. No, that's pretty awesome, man. So I think if I remember correctly, you've had quite a few careers, and I think when back in 2000, when we started kind of chit-chatting and communicating back in 2007, I think you were working like you're doing something with framing, or you something in photography. I mean, what was that passion and that business?
I certainly, I get teased by some of my friends. They'll say, well, in your 20s, you worked for this art and frame gallery and shops, which was this really restful, easy way to spend the week. Yep. So that every weekend I could charge out, just leave right after work on Friday and start that weekend pursuit and that drive to go to the mountains, to climb hard, backpack hard, whatever it was.
Yep.
Which that led into just more and more outdoor pursuits. That's how we ended up meeting. That's how I ended up. My next career was teaching for the National Outdoor Leadership School for Knowles.
Yep.
Which then that led into, I started riding bikes a lot. That led into cycling for back road cycling.
Yep.
Kind of a way to continue guiding, being outdoors, being more reasonable to pay for my family and things like that.
Sure.
And that somehow, actually, my career now as a firefighter paramedic at Eugene Springfield Fire, it was really, I was out cycling and I was on a trip with a client in Utah, coming flying down Bryce Canyon Road on the Rainbow Road, and he got a little loose. Well, more than a little loose, his back tire got in the gravel, and just under 50 miles an hour, he cartwheels, fishtails, cartwheels, ends over ends. I roll up onto him just as an EMT basic, as a wilderness first responder.
Yeah.
No tools or anything to deal with that. He's got cerebral spinal fluid coming out his ears. He's got a flail chest. He's got multiple ribs broken in multiple places. He's got a broken scapula. He's at first not even alert and oriented to his own name.
Right.
And by the time that, I'm sitting with him and I'm thinking, God, like, I wish I had more skills. I wish I could do something to help you more other than just sit here and kind of hold your head so you don't move. So I can make sure your airway's open. Well, anyways, the paramedics showed up and these guys just kicked butt. They do everything super fast and efficient. And all of a sudden he's up and he's going to the hospital. He's getting the care he needs. And so I'd say each of my careers kind of led to the next. And it was that moment in Bryce where I was like, I'm going to become a paramedic, and then being a paramedic and firefighter kind of go together in my state, at least. So,
yep. Yeah. No, I mean, like when you, I think you called me, I was, I had just moved to Colorado, and you called me up and you're like, hey, I'm applying to be like a firefighter, and I'm putting you down as a reference. And, and before too long, I get this call from like the fire chief or something. And, he's interviewing me, and I'm just like, look, there's no better dude out there than Peter Green. So like, I clearly remember getting that call, and I sat, I don't think it was a very long conversation, because I think he had already talked with Brad and maybe Ben and a couple of other guys. He was like, yeah, pretty much everyone's for everything we already know. So, but. But yeah, man. So like, let's go ahead and go ahead and tell people how did. how did we connect? Like from your perspective, like how did our roads merge?
So what year was that? Was that 2007 maybe?
I think so. I think that was the year we did kill, Brad, Justin, and I, and a handful of others did Kilimanjaro, and then I wrote
Yeah.
a little piece that got published in Backpacker magazine. So
Mhm. So I had already some backstory for me is like my mom and sister both have a macular degeneration that was early onset for both of them, starting in the, like elementary school age. So
mm-hmm.
they're both visually impaired,
Mm-hmm.
and so I've always had the association with they were doing things with the National Association or the Federation of the Blind,
Mm-hmm.
and working with special programs in their school, and so I would have that
Mm-hmm.
involved with my sister and my mom.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of like you're aware of things that are going on, and when Eric Weimer made his ascent to the top of the world,
Yep.
and kind of gained that notoriety, it started on my radar of, gosh, like I've done other volunteer things, but I want to do something that really incorporates my love of climbing at that point,
Mm-hmm.
backpacking. And I saw the article in Backpacker that where you were featured or had written,
Mm-hmm.
and so I sent a message to Eric Weimer.
Yep.
And when I sent him that message, gosh, and later that afternoon he responded. I mean, so my
Yep.
message was, "Hey, I think it's awesome what you're doing. I have a certain set of skills that I both possess, and I'm hoping to continue to build. Is
Right.
there a way I could do anything to help any of your programs, or can we join any forces?" And
Yeah.
he's like, it was just like in his first message to me, it was like, yeah, I've just gone on this trip to Kilimanjaro with these really awesome young guys who are going to hopefully continue in mountaineering and outdoor pursuits. And if there's a way you guys can start incorporating into your own team and entity,
Yep.
here's their contacts. And so it was really
Yep.
his notoriety, and then your publicist getting publicized.
Yep.
We made that first connection.
Yep. Yeah. And then, I think we just started kind of emailing back and forth, and then we jumped on a phone call, and then, I mean, this was over the course of, I think, 6 or 7 months, but, and then all of a sudden Brad and I are, hopping on planes, flying to Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
and like you put together like this whole, like Brad and I both remember it as like you put together this whole like mountaineering course for us essentially. And it was like we were blown away by how little we knew at that time. And I believe at the time you were part of Eugene Mountain Search and Rescue.
Correct. Uh-huh.
Yep. And you were just super involved in the outdoors, and like, I mean, we learned so much in those, what was it, 5, 6, 7 days with you. And
that first trip up to Mount Hood, Mount St. Helens.
Yep. I mean,
Yeah.
my gosh, like, so like talk, tell us from your perspective, what are a couple of things that you remember about, the your first impressions of, these basically two teenage knuckleheads coming to Oregon, and, and then, kind of, what we, your impressions of that, that first trip that we did. And then the subsequent 2 years, you took the rest of the boys on a, trips in 2009, and then we all did Gannett in 2010. So, kind of talk us through those couple of years there.
Sure. So, when I reached out to Eric, and then he and I to you and to Brad, and I thought there was just something really kind of cool and special that all of a sudden you just had the power of the internet and stuff. Everybody's connected, and we can find each other. And go, wow, we randomly all have this very similar goal and vision that's very particular, because I was like, I want to use my skill and try to assist anyone that wants to be in the mountains and that maybe felt limited because of their vision or eyesight in the past.
Yep.
Not a lot of guys were like, that's my dream. But for me, that was what I thought was the best way for me to use skills I had and find and just make a cool new friendship that, as it turned out, because of course when we talked, it wasn't like, oh, I want to keep going on trips with Kyle because he's got it, he's visually impaired or he's blind. He's like, no, this is my freaking friend, and we have a kick-ass time together. We have so much fun that we built that friendship through those correspondence early on. And so it was way more than that. But in that first year, I knew that you guys were coming with as having some experience, but a lot to learn.
Yeah.
And I've had this great fortune from, like I said, from those Boy Scout days through mountain rescue, being involved in leadership training in Knowles. And in all these walks, I've had these great mentors and people who've taught me every skill I have, and have done it in like a passionate and excited way. That for me, I just have always felt like I have to repay that. I enjoy teaching now. I've had such great examples of good teachers that when I can share it, I'm like, well, this means that my pursuits continue. This means the next generation of people get to experience the outdoors in a great way.
Yeah.
Experience friendships in an awesome way. That's my credo and my kind of way of living. So when you guys showed up, I was like, well, here's fresh clay to mold. Because I was like, they're ready. They've got all the energy and excitement, and they're going to absorb things. And it was just like we started knocking out lessons and plans. And yeah, I'm pretty meticulous when it comes to planning and organizing, especially when you got a week-long trip in the middle of the summer and you have all winter to think about it. So for me with you guys, talking to your parents at that time, talking to Brad, I thought it was really fun working that whole plan of how can we maximize the days, how can we do awesome stuff. But I didn't want to ever be your guide. I wanted to be your friend and your buddy who you were climbing with and who Brad was climbing. So I was like, the first year we're gonna have to learn a lot, because we could have tied some ropes around and just pulled each other up,
Oh, for sure.
But I was like, no, you're gonna learn the skills that you can do this. And of course it was about learning skills just to be good at life, where you're like one skill leads to the next. The confidence of being in the mountains. Have you had anything that you didn't think you could accomplish since you started your pursuits in the outdoors and
no
athletics?
No. It's amazing how that works. And that meticulousness that you showed in planning every trip and everything that we did together, and then the meticulousness that my parents instilled in me. Like, I mean, shoot, man, that is carried over, and I don't make it where I am today without much of those skills and that confidence in the outdoors and and all that. It's really amazing.
I mean, you travel the world doing all of your events and doing everything you do. It's like the amount of planning and organization, and I always feel like that when people learn that skill through whatever it is, whether it's their sports or if it is their studies or it's the outdoors, but when you can get that when you're young enough that you realize that's gonna carry you through your whole life. It's gonna give you all these opportunities and open these doors you just couldn't even have imagined. But it's because you plan and you put yourself in those great situations. So I think it's awesome what you've done. I certainly I'd like to take like 1% credit at the most, but really it's out there through your hard work and tons of good friendships. And
well, thank you so much, man. It's no, man, like it's a testament to, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I launched this podcast. It's a testament to all the people that I've learned from, and that's not saying that I know I work hard, but someone had to teach me the skills. Someone had to help me along the way, and all the successes that I have had, especially whether that be in the mountains or in triathlon and endurance sport, it's because I've stood on your shoulders and Brad's shoulders and Eric's and all the people that have come come through my life. So yeah, man, no, that's just you definitely get quite a bit more than 1% of the credit.
But yeah, but it's such a great I guess like an analogy to just none of us we don't do it alone. And if
Nope.
people feel like you're doing it alone, you're not doing it the right way.
Yep.
The shared experience is what's so great in our lives.
Yep.
So yeah, just awesome. I just got to talk with Brad, and he was bringing up how I've still got mountaineering goals, and well, now my son has set his first mountaineering goal, which is
all right,
hiking the South Sister in Oregon this summer.
Yep.
He's 7, getting ready to turn 8.
Wow, he's that old already.
Yeah, isn't that wild? So
oh my gosh,
he is ready. He's been putting in miles and doing hikes, and we've got a list of stuff we're doing this summer that'll get him ready for that. So Brad heard about that, and he was like, "Oh, I think you've still got an unfinished list," which is true. I've still got a couple of mountains I still want to tick off. So
yep. We were chatting about that. I think you got what, 2 volcanoes left?
I know, right? Yep.
So
it's
pretty good, man. Pretty good. Yeah. But yeah. So, so I tell the story from my perspective in in my book, and about Gannett Peak, and some people have heard Justin's recap and Brad's, but I'm really interested to hear your perspectives on Gannett Peak, because that was a man, it was quite the trip. I mean, we planned, we were very meticulous. We probably we over prepared in some areas, a couple of us under prepared and in others. But like kind of talk us through the just talk us through Gannett, in from your perspective. Like, how did things go? Like, what were your worries and concerns, and some of the highlights of that trip as well?
Absolutely. Well, first, that trip, what a great thing that Gore-Tex had got on board with helping Team Side Scene, as well as Bubba Burger and just every sponsor that got on and said, "Oh, you guys are up to something that's really awesome. That's not just about you. It's bigger than that." Yep. And it represents what friendships, teamship, hard work, planning can lead to. I think is why people liked it.
Exactly.
And so we, that I was super excited. I thought it was pretty ambitious of us.
It was
what, almost 50 miles round trip of backpacking, and it was tough going at times, hiking, being patient with each other, having hard, just lots of days in the mountains. It's very testing. And so even with our planning and preparation, it was, we had our tough moments. Mm-hmm. But God, I thought, as far as having a hard but good time, and that's kind of how I like it a lot of times. You want to test yourself. It was really really fun in that way. It was cool because that was the one time when all of us that have been involved got to be together, from having you and having Ben and having Justin and having Brad,
Joe and Monica and you, and
Joe and Monica. Yeah, I mean, we were quite the motley crew. We're just rolling into Wyoming thinking we're going to storm into Wind River Range and do what we want.
Yeah.
So yeah, some of my best memories of that were, of course, that the first night when we all got together, and it was basically like mid-July, but we were having like Christmas Day, because all the stuff that Gore-Tex had paid for and funded, and so people got new axes and helmets and gear and jackets.
Oh my gosh!
And the Mountain Tex part of it.
Yep.
And then kind of that next morning, waking up to the reality, like, we're going to pack up. Horse packers are going to help us, and we're going to have a lot of effort to make this work and take this route and spend this amount of time in the mountains.
Yeah.
So it's super fun. Super fun.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. That first day, man. Oh man, it was what, a 15, 16 mile day. And oh man, I don't, I think I think I was on my feet for 12, 13 hours that day. And I came like staggering into camp, and I think you were a little worried. If I
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
correctly.
It well the first day, because I was like, Kyle's he's strong and he's gonna go hard, but always the challenge in the mountains for everyone is, can you take good care of your feet?
Yeah.
And even if you do everything you can, sometimes your feet just give you the blisters, give you the rubbing. Well, you
Yep.
have an added thing that every time you take a step, there's a little adjustment that happens as you make contact, right?
Yep. Yep.
Your foot isn't pre-adjusted to hit that rock perfectly, so you're adding friction every step. You started seeing that where it's like, oh man, I just can't believe how tough you have to be to get through that part of our hiking.
Yeah.
But I was like, nope, we're going to just keep being tough and seeing how we can do, because this is one of our obstacles.
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, that first long day also was very ambitious. We're like, you fly in, you get in, you've got that laggy kind of day. That night you sleep kind of excited, I bet, is how I
Yep.
sleep on a
Oh
trip
yeah.
like that. And you wake up early and then you're doing it all day.
Yep.
So hard first day. I can hardly remember much of anything that first night. I feel like I went to bed pretty quick.
Yeah. I think we all just kind of passed out, and then
Yeah.
shorter day the next day, but still tough. And and I think it was the second day that we finally could see we could finally see the actual peak of Gannett, because it's like
Mhm.
it's not like you can't see the actual peak anywhere. And that's one of the unique things about Gannett Peak is that it's so deep in the Wind River Range.
Tucked in the mountains, correct? Yeah.
Yeah, which is so cool. But
I
oh
I
man,
felt like for us, I always like that sense of a journey, and
yeah,
you turn that first corner and you see the objective, and you've
yep,
already worked hard just to get to the viewpoint.
yep,
That felt good.
yeah,
Do you
it's
remember
pretty cool.
when we got to where we were going to camp at the foot of the glacier there?
Yep.
And God, like the hailstorm, and like
Oh
it's
my
a
gosh.
windy, sleety, haily
Yep.
arrival. And it
Oh,
wasn't entirely clear where our best camp setup was. And there's
yep.
that feeling of like, it's kind of getting late in the day. It's super stormy and not very much fun standing here thinking about it.
Yeah.
Uh,
We
and,
got to make
and
some decisions here.
yeah, that probably on that trip, that was one of those kind of stressful moments where I had to take that deep breath and was like, we're going to be just fine. Gore-Tex has geared us up. We're not going to
Yep.
melt in the rain,
Yep.
but
Yep.
there's that little anxiety of like, I want to get this day put away. I
Over
want
with.
to get it
Yeah.
set up and feeling more comfortable and keeping the vibe good and keeping everybody on the good morale. Uh,
Yep.
which we bounced back, of course, and then we started to learn that every day in the Wind River Range, that late afternoon, that's the name of the game. Is you're going to have
Yep.
thunderstorms roll in. You're going to have the rain come. You're going to kind of just be prepared that might be part of your day and be
Yeah.
ready to take cover. So
Yep. Yep. But then we were, we were real fortunate that we had, you as a expert backcountry cook, and Monica as like a, trained chef, basically. You guys, spent because we decided to take the next day, that next day as like a rest day. And y'all basically prepared a feast. I mean, you guys are making like pizza, pad thai. I mean, just, spoiling us rotten. I don't think anyone has ever eaten as good in the backcountry as we did. But yeah, like that was pretty cool. Like, have you always like was eating good kind of always in your you know in your mind for backpacking and and trips like that, or like when did you kind of find that those skills and that knack for just developing awesome backcountry food?
well, I'm glad you remember that so well. Uh, yeah, early backpacking, it was like my mom had packed me with a can of stew
Yeah.
and wrap up some potatoes I could throw in the fire, kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
or some dehydrated eggs.
Yeah.
It was very rudimentary, very basic. And early backpacking felt that way. Well, the more time I started spending, you realize you can't keep eating dehydrated garbage.
Right.
At that time, some of the dehydrated meals today, I'm like, boy, this is as good as anything. But I even
Oh
feel like
yeah.
15 years ago, it wasn't always the case.
No.
It was the more time I spent, the more I was like, I need to eat just as well in the backcountry as I am in my regular life to stay
Mhm.
healthy, to feel good, and have that positive energy. And and I found that you got all the time in the world. Once you're sitting at camp, you might as well enjoy yourself.
True.
So yeah, I had some people through Knowles that were really good cooks, and really enjoyed eating well. Uh, but it's always been something I've liked just in personal life at home,
Yeah.
at the fire station now. As much as I can cook and help out, it's enjoyable.
Yep.
Uh, but I also have always kind of wanted to celebrate things in life where it's like we were only going to have so many trips and so many days together in the long
Yeah.
run of things. So why
Yeah.
not make those days, those moments extra special if you can? A little extra thought, an
Yep.
extra avocado goes a long ways when you're hungry and you're
Oh
tired,
yeah.
you want some
Oh
calories,
yeah.
So uh, it's really fun for me to see people eating well and enjoying themselves. And it's such a
Totally.
novelty for a lot of people in the backcountry. They don't think of having mountaineering and having backpack trips where they're kind of like eating is kind of the part you suffer through. Well, I'm just going to eat these bars and whatever. But the beauty is being outdoors. I'm like, I think you can have both.
Yeah.
I disagree. I think you can have it all.
Yep.
So
For
yeah.
sure.
Well, that's awesome. You remember that, and I'll tell Monica because she takes a lot of pride in eating well and having that be something
Yep.
to celebrate.
Yep.
So
No, it's really it sticks out in all of our minds. Like it's pretty amazing. Like and that is carried through for me today. Like, I enjoy, I value, my mom's a personal, my mom is a trained personal chef, and our family philosophy has always been kind of centered around food. Our family's been in the food industry for my entire life.
yeah,
So food has been so important to us, and and then that was just another thing that we all kind of connected on, and just enjoy that enjoyment of how can we enjoy as many parts of you know our experience as we can, and
Mhm.
just I remember, like, I still think that backcountry pizza is one of the best pizzas I've ever had. Like, it's pretty
Right.
amazing. It's pretty amazing.
If you had it at your house, at your dining room table, it would have been terrible. But
Exactly.
sitting in the mountains when you're just hungry enough and it's just the right time and you've got
Yep.
got your down jacket on, well, it does seem like it's the best, right?
It so
Yeah.
does. It so does. But so our next, if I remember correctly, our next day, on Gannett, that was a doozy of a day, and that was a day that we had, some we had to make some tough decisions, some tough calls. Walk us through your memories of that day, and kind of our decision making process.
On our summit day,
Yeah. Yep. On our
uh,
summit day.
we'd it'd been already a hard trip into camp, and then we had a rest day, but we also had a work day and a class day
Yeah.
that just put everyone through paces. So we were staying on top of ourselves. Well, that morning early start, before sunrise, I thought we did pretty well. We got out of camp well. We
Yep.
were cruising. Weather was good for the morning
Yep.
time, if I remember
Yep.
right.
Yep.
And God, we get to kind of my memory. I'm trying to walk back through things that really stick out. I remember getting to that to the Bergschrund
Yep.
at the top of the glacier there.
Yep.
Navigated it pretty easily, if I remember.
Hmm.
It wasn't real stressful. But at that point, some point after that, if I remember, it was starting to get where your feet had gotten were starting to hurt, right?
Yeah, they like
And
everything from like ankles up. I was like, man, I'm like I can do this, but
oh
like
yeah,
my feet were just torn to shreds.
yeah, and and it's like I've had trips with every friend in every sport I've done where there's just those days and those moments where that's the case. A blister, or I've had an ingrown toenail that ruins my whole climbing trip. Like I
Yep,
can't climb because I got this one stupid toenail.
yep,
And I was like, oh man, you had done so much work. You and Justin everybody came in shape, prepared, looking strong, feeling good. And then there's those things that even with the best care, you just sometimes can't prevent. It's just the
yeah,
nature of the boot, the sock. So we got to that point where it just, when it stops being fun, and
yeah,
it's not going to be fun or safe because of that.
yeah,
We got to that hard point of do we stop here and turn around? I was like, really had that talk, and I think Brad had the talk with you, and it
yep.
sucks on those days when you're like,
Oh yeah,
I want to do something, but I also, nobody wants, we don't, I don't think you should not have fun in the mountains. If you're not
yeah,
having fun, then you should go somewhere where you are, go back to camp, go to the lake, go to your
yeah,
tent, whatever, enjoy
yep,
yourself. So
yep,
it seemed like we'd almost pushed the fun button.
yeah,
And I think Justin was getting there. And so then I had this kind of hard talk with, I guess, all of us. We talked of what's the right choice here, because part of Team Sight Unseen's program, or part of what we were, I think, trying to do was not just go on trips, but build skills for all of us to be able to continue on trips.
yep,
And so we got to that point, and I really wanted to talk to Ben and talk to Brad, and said, this is a chance for you guys to have another mountaineering experience and another skill building opportunity for this
yeah,
part of the midday.
yep,
But it makes a tough choice of leaving two of our climbers hanging out at a waiting camp, or
yeah,
a waiting, not a camp, just a waiting spot,
yeah,
banking on good weather, banking on that nothing happens to us and leaves you guys stranded,
right,
or not sure what your next steps are. So as we kind of all powwowed, I I was like, am I being selfish? Are they being selfish to want to keep going? Because of course Brad was like, I'd really like to go because I think it'll be awesome, but I also don't want to leave my friend and not have them have that shared experience.
yeah,
And and Ben was kind of on that same, like, God, this is one where it's we're kind of come this far. It's not going to take that long, but uh, is it the right choice? And then I just remember you being so genuine, and I could tell that your sincerity for wanting to not ever hold somebody back, to
mm-hmm.
not be an anchor in any way, to just be another friend on another trip as a teammate.
Yep,
And you're like, we can do this. We've got our stuff to sit here. We've got some snacks. We've got water. We can wait, and you guys can still kick ass and finish this trip the way we all want to.
yep,
And I was like, man, that's a bold move, Cotton. Because that means you got to sit here for maybe hours.
yeah,
Maybe it was
and
2, maybe it was 3.
I think it was like between 3 and 4 hours or something
It
like
started to
that.
get,
But
and then, yeah, because I was like, oh, it'll be about 2 to 3, 3.5, 3.5 probably.
yeah,
So yeah, but all of us then, we felt, when we left and started hiking up, we're each talking, saying how awesome that was.
yeah,
Because I was like, we have to make a fair and good choice. We don't want to be jerks, and you
right,
don't want to be risky, and you don't
right,
want to take unnecessary, risk when you don't need to, because the point was to have fun. Well,
yeah,
I think there was a risk reward calculation and a
sure,
value to the experience that I felt like was talked through, and then a maturity of each of us to be like, yeah, let's rock this out. And then
yep,
actually when we got back to you guys and headed down the mountain, I thought that it was just a whole lot of emotions and a whole lot of experience all rolled into just one day, because
yeah,
it wasn't just a walk up a mountain. It had
no,
technical features, it had emotional features, it had friendship features, it had
yep,
so many cool elements
oh
to the
yeah,
challenge.
it was special, dude. I mean, it was hard. I mean, and that, I mean, not gonna lie, that was a hard trip. And then, and it's not like, and it's not like we just like cruised down the mountain and, had, some, easy lollygagging our way out of there. I mean, we still had some hard days ahead of us to get out. I mean, we had like 23, 24 miles to, get our asses out of there. And, and like we all were on the edge of our ability and our thresholds, for those next couple of nights before we finally got back to the trailhead. And and Brad and I were chatting about it, and we were like, man, like we looked up, to you Pete, so much that, and like you were hauling like 100 pounds of gear, and we're like, man, this guy is Superman. And like we were like, man, like does he have a crack? And like you started to show a couple of cracks, and we're like, oh crap, he ain't Superman.
Maybe it was the last day of hiking out, and I hiked out ahead a little ways. I was just like, needed to get into a rhythm and a pace, because I was like, oh man, I'm almost smoked. I was starting to be like, I'm fatiguing, I'm beat, I'm tired. And I laid down by this lake and waited for a little while for you guys.
Yep.
And I was like, maybe I'm just going to tell them to go ahead, and I'm just going to sleep for one day here by this lake, So yeah, I definitely, and that, of course, my wife now always says that, what, if I'm pushed, that means that a lot of times that my son or my friends might just be completely worked. So like, be conscious of all of your guests and your friends and so yeah, I think, I remember rolling into Jackson Hole that night, right?
Yeah.
And just that feeling of, give me all the food I can, and we'll all just stink. We'll all sleep in this stinky hotel room.
Oh my God.
All our mountain gear from, being out. And it was certainly one of those trips where I got home and felt very grateful that we were safe.
Yep.
And that things had worked out well.
Yep.
And then did that kind of reality check of how pushed, where were each of us on that trip, as far as going all the way to your red line. And I certainly know I had moments towards the end of the trip, kind of like that fatigue. I mean, it's why so many accidents do happen on the way out or the way down a mountain. The emotional highs are gone, the physical energy's gone. You're just you're starting to make that transition back into real world, if you will, life. And God, all of a sudden you're just like, I'm worked. So I was super proud of all you guys when we rolled into town that night, and when we went out to dinner and
man,
cleaned up, and just was like, holy crap, if this is, I feel this way, and I've been at it for longer. So everybody, and Monica was like, I'm right at my edge, which I just was always impressed that everybody was so tough. When it's hard. And I think in each of our cases now, as you look through our lives, it's those resiliences. Every time you push yourself hard, and you don't break, and you didn't crack, and you didn't lay down and die and sleep by the lake for a day or two, you realize how much more you have in you, how your perception of 100% isn't always true. Your body will lie to you and say you're breaking, and you can keep going if you just have mental fortitude, and you have that toughness, and you have that confidence and faith in the skills you've built and your past experiences to carry you through the next one.
Yep. Yeah. And it's, I mean, dude, that I still reflect back to that trip. I mean, I wrestled in high school. I wrestled a little bit in college. That trip built me and shaped me more and toughened me up more than a lot of other practices. I can grind through a swim practice, grind through a bike workout, haul my ass along, sprinting as hard as I can in a 5K off the bike, and always in the back of my head, it's like, Gannett, it's like, just think of how you were, on Gannett and like, push that envelope a little bit more so that when you go back, you're stronger and you're better for it. So yeah, that trip, that trip built all of us and shaped, I think all of our lives, which is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of profound how you can have just years of the things we do in our lives. And sometimes it comes down to just a few moments that really make the differences, or that you reflect back on. Because God, I think in all my planning, I didn't anticipate just how rough some of the trail was going to be.
Yeah.
How just long all of it would take with all of our gear, all of our stuff. There'd be some miles where we were very much just creeping along. The days were long, and that it was definitely an awesome and trial at the same time.
But
the next year we missed out when I can't remember what you were doing that you weren't able to join us when we went to Rainier.
So you guys you guys went to Rainier in 2009. So it was between,
that's right. So that was the year before.
Yep.
Right?
So that was the year before. And I was in the process of, I was in New Jersey getting my first guide dog. So that's why I couldn't come. Otherwise I would have been there with you guys.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was an awesome.
We could look at that as still
so jealous.
We could look at that still as unfinished business.
Oh, it definitely is. It definitely is, man. It is. So, but yeah, like going forward, I mean, what has Pete been up to in, from 2010 to 2023? I mean, you and Monica started a family. I mean, like you said, you got into, cycling. And then, I mean, that story that you told about, how you decided to, become a, EMT, paramedic, firefighter, that's incredible. But like, kind of walk us through the last, 10 plus years a little bit.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, I'd gone to work for the cycling company, started traveling. My kind of area was the whole West. So I did trips in Alaska, Hawaii, California, from Death Valley through the Big Sur coast, and out into Utah, a little bit in Vermont and Quebec. Just had this great time bike riding, really just taking again my love of guiding, teaching, being passionate about outdoor work. Company I worked for, we love to eat well, serve great food to our guests. I went through like catering courses, and so again, food's been kind of a part of all of the components of things I do. So really awesome. And then like I said, that moment of having my guest have his crash got me thinking about what the next thing I wanted to do for career wise. And of course, I was married while I was traveling. Monica and we're gonna have our 20-year anniversary in August.
It's amazing.
And I know, it's wild how long it has been and how much time has gone by. And so we started thinking. I was on the road 7 months of the year. Sometimes through the winter, I'd be gone a couple of weeks and come back for a week or two. And so that was trying. It was a long distance marriage at that point. And again, my wife's just so awesome that she supports whatever passion or dream or thing possesses me. She's going to be there helping me and along for the ride. So she'd done that through all the cycling career. And then when we started talking about having a family, that was when we said, no, I can't be an absentee dad. I can't be trying to be a father and a family and be gone all these weeks and months of the year. And then that accident happened, and it was like, well, this is a direction I can see myself going. My want for helping people and living a lifestyle. And so, that got me just, at late, I'm in my 30s, and I go to the community college. I get a degree in paramedicine. I start volunteering at the fire department, and just took all those steps, lined them up. That planning and meticulousness certainly helped. if any of your listeners are looking for their career, if they're in college or they're in high school and they're thinking about things to do, fire service is such an awesome way to obviously get through the community. But there's a very logical, clear step and order to: you go to school, you get these certain degrees, you take these certain classes, you go through these certain application processes, and you will end up at the end with a job that you can love. Like it's not ambiguous. Like some of my friends, you choose something in marketing. Well, now you have to find a company that you work for, and you have to find that, and maybe it lasts for a while. And so there's a lot of regularity and things that I love in my profession right now.
For sure.
I encourage people in it. But yeah, that was kind of from cycling the transition to being able to be more of a father and a husband at home while still doing it. You could tell anybody listening probably knows by now that I'm not going to sit around being bored for very long. I got to do stuff that's fun and exciting and has the elements of calculated risk for a reward of doing something good for someone else. And so I just feel super fortunate that my winding, weaving road led me now to what I get to do to be in my community, to be with my guys at the station. And really gives me a ton of time to try to be the best dad and have the most fun with Hunter now that I can, which again is just an awesome experience.
So amazing, dude. So amazing. Like it's awesome. I love, I love hearing, how well you guys are doing. I flash back and I remember, I think you were telling me and Brad the story of, I think it was yours and Monica's like first or second date or something like that. And she jumped over you with a snowboard. And like you do, like, right. I think you, just tell that story real quick for people, because it's just funny.
So yeah, I have so many things in my life I'm so fortunate that have just worked out. And the day my roommate showed up with my wife and her friend to my house, to our apartment, where it's just like, this woman is incredible, and I have a feeling that it's going to be really an awesome experience for years to come. Well, that soon into those first months of us dating, we go out snowboarding. I've like never snowboarded. I'm just getting started, and she sets us up, says, "Oh, stand over here and take a picture. It'll be great," And so I stand under the little jump, think she's going to kind of like come and hop by me, not thinking that there's the giant tabletop that's over the height of my head.
Right.
She's hitting. And of course, as she flies off of it, as she's coming down, getting enough speed, I know I'm starting to go, oh no, she's going big. She's going for it. And of course, I look up. I had a disposable camera because this was in the late 90s.
Yeah.
And I take a picture that's of the underside of her snowboard in her hand, and that's all that's in the picture. Just sky and the underside of a snowboard. She lands, continues down the mountain. It doesn't even look back. Like there's no F's given. And I make my way trying to do my best in my early days of snowboarding to just get down the run. And of course, thought to myself, like, hey, this is it. Yeah,
this is the one.
This is the one. So yeah, we've had such a great journey. And today we were up snowboarding together, and so two of us are up, and I just had that moment of kind of stopping, looking over, and thinking, like, I didn't get to go snowboarding with my mom. My mom wasn't active like that. It wasn't the experience I got, and just how stoked I am that my son gets that, and that my wife is just as much fun and as awesome as she is. It's really pretty cool. So
that is so awesome, man. Yeah, you guys have. Hunter is a lucky kid to have such great parents to look up to, and man, it's truly amazing, man, what you've done, and where you're going. So I'm excited to see what's in the future for the Green family, man.
Thanks, Kyle. Yeah. As my for you, it's amazing. I was telling guys at the station the other day, they were asking about what I'm up to this weekend. I'm telling them we're going on a snowboard trip and I'm going to be talking to an old friend on his
Yep.
podcast.
Yep.
And so they want to know all the backstory, like we've been talking about today. And how
Yep.
how did you guys intersect? How did you find each other? And
Yep.
where'd you get money from to do it? And all these
Yep.
things and stuff. And I was just saying how it's been so much fun. It's certainly come with hard times and trials.
Sure.
Those stories aren't as exciting always to share and not as easy to talk about. But
No.
there's definitely been the I say that my mountaintops have all had a complimentary dark valley.
Oh, for sure.
So for every high of being out in the mountains and having great performances and being out cycling and doing things, there's those lows, there's those challenges, and there's those things that defeat you.
Yep.
And I just each time I'm able to take those past experiences and all the friendships, all the support that I get from every friendship and every mentor to pull through those dark valleys and end up back at the top.
Yep.
I'm very, very grateful that that's been my experience, to have those friendships and those people to lean on.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. No, I feel the same way. I mean, and yeah, it's funny, man. Like you just like one of those true marks of friendship is like you just it can be 10 years since you've talked, and you pick up the phone and it's like we just talked yesterday. It's just just sitting here chatting with you. It reminds me of why we connected 15 years 16 years ago, and why we still remain friends to this day, and why we're going to do other stuff together. We just gotta find the time. It might be when all this hair finally falls out, but we're gonna find a way of doing stuff together again. We're gonna get the band back together to do something, even if it's
back together, even if it's for a one night only, is a good idea.
Even if we just all get together for one night and for a barbecue or something, man. Like we gotta we're gonna figure this out, man. We're gonna figure this out.
I'd like that. Like I said, talking to Brad, I was like, dude, we need to make this happen.
Yep.
It could just be fun. Set a goal that's something fun and achievable.
Yep.
Set a time that we can make it happen. I get to see Ben Meyer too. He works for the same fire department I do.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's wild that he and I had made those friendships through climbing, and he was very much in that mindset of wanting to get out and share skills and grow them simultaneously.
Yep.
And I was like, hey, I got this group we're forming, and if you want to come out and join us, let's do it, dude. And he went out. We had those great times together up in Washington and Gannett Peak, and he and I did a bunch of trips together, and then lost touch for years. Just lost touch. I went a different direction. I was doing mainly the cycling stuff, and then lo and behold, I'm sitting there at the college one day in the library, and he walks in, and we get to talking, and he's like, "Oh, I'm just finishing up my paramedic degree," and I was like, well, I'm in the paramedic school too. And I was like, we're going down the same path all over again after years.
Wild.
And so he's on that same page of like, that'd be awesome to get back together and have another trip, another hike, or another event that we could do would be super fun. And of course, he's a dad now. He's got a young daughter, and
awesome.
Is doing awesome in the fire department. He's a new engineer, and
wow.
So
good for him, man.
The influence that we've all gotten to have in those trips, each of us, things we took from some of those experiences in leadership and goal setting and resilience, have manifested themselves, years later. It's pretty cool.
It's pretty amazing, dude. It's pretty amazing. Oh man, like we could sit here and talk all night. Like, we seriously could.
Well, yeah. But, I'm sitting when you're saying like, oh, it's just like how you catch up with an old friend. I'm like, dude, I feel like I'm just sitting here with you again, and I'm sitting up on. Remember sitting on Mount Hood,
Yep.
and we camped at Illumination Saddle,
Yep.
and that was part of our training week. And
Yep.
I tell the story to friends when we're sitting there, and I've got some photos that it's one of my most memorable sunsets,
Yep.
like in my life.
Yep.
And I've been lucky to be lots of cool places, but that night there was just the right cloud from just the right angle and just the right low light,
Yep.
and just a little bit of drizzle far off for this rainbow. Uh and I can remember us sitting there, and Brad and I are talking about how awesome the sunset is, and you said something, asked me something to like because I'm like, just some guy, oh dude, it's beautiful, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
And you were like, well, describe it more. Like, what do you mean it's beautiful?
Yeah.
And so Brad and I started trying, if I remember right, to describe it as if we were articulate, intelligent people. So I was like, well, the top part is kind of this black that fades to purple, and then there's almost like, if you can remember what the color of a salmon is, that kind of
Yep.
pinkish color. And why I think it's one of the most beautiful sunsets that I remember is because I've never tried to articulate and describe a sunset so much. Usually you just sit there and stare at it.
Yep.
And so that experience that we had that day, when you talk about just like memories kind of flood back when you're talking with an old friend, and all of a sudden I was
Yep.
like, man, I sometimes that'll like, oh, I won't have thought about it for a while, and when it does, I'll come back and I'll be like, I felt like there was a warmth and a glow from the sun, and there was
Oh yeah.
there was a freaking rainbow, and there was like,
Oh my gosh,
and
man.
the glacier down that west side on the Elliott Glacier was
Yep.
taking alpenglow where it's just unreal. And then
Yep.
your way of asking, help me to experience what you're experiencing.
Yep.
And it made it such a cool and rich experience. So yeah, Kyle, I hope we can get together for and make some new and cool memories, because we've really got some fun ones from the past.
Absolutely, man. We are going to make it happen. I got just a couple of years left of this elite athlete thing, I think. And then but we got lots of adventures coming up. And I think it'd be just so much fun to make more and make new memories, man, because we have so many cool ones from the past, but it's time to make some new ones. So
yeah, I like that.
I love it, man. Well, I think we're gonna kind of wrap it up here, but like, I mean, for people out there, listening, man, like, I think you can tell, like I said earlier, like I have stood on the shoulders, and been launched, by the, into success because of the people around me, and Pete's thoughtfulness, dedication, meticulousness, and just big heart and, willingness to just say yes to just about anything. Man, it's kept me going, and it's allowed me to look forward, to look, back with fondness, and to look forward with hope. So if people out there, get anything from this, know that, you're going to find your adventure. Pete's had how many careers now, and you're still living life to the fullest, just like the rest of us are trying to do. So thank you so much, man, for your friendship, for your your influence. You've really helped me out so much. Even though, if you count up the days, I think we may have only spent about maybe not even 3 weeks together in person. Like,
Yeah, right.
It's pretty amazing how much influence and how much of an impact you've had on me, just for barely over 2 weeks of actually spending time together in this, in the same physical space.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Kyle, for having me today and getting to talk. Just so proud of everything that you've done and what you're up to. and the inspiration that you provide to other athletes and other people that are blind and visually impaired. It's awesome, and I think you've made me better. You've made Ben better. We've all been better for our friendships together. So thanks so much, and let's do stay in touch and make sure that we make some new memories coming up.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. Well, everyone, that brings us to the end of another Kicking It with the KTrain. I think you all can tell how Pete has helped me keep an eye on my vision, and I think he's going to help you. You know, if you listen to this podcast just once, or if you go back and listen to it multiple times, I think it's going to help you keep, everyone else keep an eye on their vision. So, as always, keep an eye on your vision, and we'll see you next time.